It is often said that crises make or break leaders. And in this case, we've already come through a crisis. The pandemic has been easily one of the greatest crises to hit this country in years. And the Tory party failed and failed and failed again. We had the education minister telling us time and time again that he was going to make sure that schools were safe and that there was going to be air ventilation, all these devices to help make sure that classrooms were safe environments for children and teachers to be in. And instead, even now, that has not happened. And as I've said before, teachers are probably going to be one of the groups of people that go on to have not only suffer from long COVID, but who knows what other ill health effects that will have on them going forward. And now we've got the Ukraine crisis in a situation where we have known for years that there is plenty of dirty Russian money, not only flowing in and around London, but also going in to fund the Tory party themselves, with many of these Russian oligarchs having what is called a golden handshake to get British British citizenship, and not just solely British citizenship, giving up their Russian citizenship, but dual nationality. And it is a shameful state of fact that our own Home Secretary, Priti Patel, is far more ready to strip British citizenship from a teenager than she is from a Russian oligarch. This isn't leadership, and Johnson is certainly no wartime leader. So we're going to go diving into this article today because this has even more, quite frankly, really shameful things for us as Brits to be really worrying about and to be really ashamed of, and that we've allowed this to happen. And I hope maybe we can start on a path to really fix some of these issues. So, as always, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help support the channel. So, this comes from True Publica with the title of Ukraine, and the shameful Johnson is no wartime leader. The EU, made up of 27 different member states, managed to unanimously decide on how to deal with the emergency of the Ukrainian refugees before even Boris Johnson and the very nasty-spirited Priti Patel could put their heads together and think rationally on what to do. The EU response has been phenomenal. By contrast, Britain, led by Johnson, in a response of just rhetoric and bluster, where intentions were indeed hidden in ambiguous words, and it literally puts people's lives in the firing line. To explain, here is one of Britain's former chief prosecutors commenting on the Home Office response that the Ukrainians with family in the UK can enter the UK, saying, "The government have now defined family to exclude an adult's parents, both their brothers and sisters, and pretty much anybody else that Boris Johnson, Priti Patel, Sunak and Truss would call family. If this was their own, even with their own nation's goodwill, they can't even get this right. I just despair." Yes, this government is actively and deliberately blocking desperate people from Ukraine who are seeking shelter from Putin's machine of death and access to safe shelter as the bombs drop, even with family connections in the UK. Johnson rarely says anything meaningful. Words are cheap. And here he is speaking yesterday, saying, "Never in all my study, my memory, and my politics of international affairs have I seen such a clear distinction between right and wrong, between good and evil, between light and dark. And here is the real reason why Ukraine is our neighbor today." In the next breath, he then quickly turns his back on them, knowing that he is has just abandoned, his duty to those in need. When the campaign for Brexit against the EU, Johnson was branded a Putin apologist after he stated that the European Union had been guilty of provoking the Russian invasion of Ukraine back in 2014. This was, of course, yet another lie. In that same speech, Johnson attacked the EU as a force for instability and alienation, compared it to the Italian mafia. And however, in this event, the EU has announced a package of over 450 million euros alongside weapons, fighter jets, munitions, and safe harbor to Ukrainians for 3 years without the need to apply for visas. It has also banned visas for Russian nationals. The EU Commissioner Ursula von der Leyen has also seized the moment, saying, Ukraine is one of us, and we want them to be in the EU. This is an answer to the Ukrainian president asking for membership. Many entities are also acting. Companies, not just companies all over the world, but are reacting and even mobilizing. Norway's 1.3 trillion sovereign wealth fund, the world's biggest, will start shredding investments in Russia. BP is ditching its 2 trillion billion investment in the Russian oil giant. Germany Diameter has also announced it will immediately cut ties with the Russian trucks and bus manufacturer Kalmaz. Even little Luxembourg is sending anti-tank weapons. Today, Russia's defense minister has told President Putin that the nuclear triad is on standby and alert for duty and has reinforced personnel. The world is horrified by the threats of a global nuclear warfare, but even this is not enough for Johnson. So, throughout all this awful crisis, the Tories have been a lot tougher on Ukrainian refugees than they have been on Russian oligarchs who support Putin's invasion. If Johnson wants to really do something, he has to come clean about the Tory party connections to Russian oligarchs, especially those linked to Putin and his regime. He has to purge the corrosive influence of Putin and his cronies have on British politics, as if Brexit wasn't enough. So many Tory MPs are infected with dirty Russian cash for influence that anything less than a purge will just simply not measure up. The Tory party is already immersed in allegations of corruption in police investigations, and even cynically, Johnson announcements as the result of the world destabilizing moment will only be seen as an opportunity to be used as a shield for his dishonesty and just complete lack of courage. Russian oligarchs and their families have been granted golden visas. They should be told to leave. Let them deal with Putin. Their properties should be seized and Ukrainian refugees given access to them if somehow we cannot find immediate accommodation. And once this is over, we sell these properties with the proceeds going to good causes. Anything Russian, no matter what it is, including imports of oil, gas, materials, should be banned. Anything Russian should be immediately excluded from anything cultural, like sporting competitions, art exhibitions, sponsorships, and so on. The entirety of the Russian ambassador offices and its embassy should be closed and their staff sent packing. After all, they are not listening to anyone. Last year, the Czech Republic found that the Russian spying operations were halted when they kicked out its embassy staff. It was described as a nest of spies, and heaven only knows what it is in London, given its success in infiltrating British life in Britain. Indeed, the only way and only when Russian people understand that their country stands alone as a direct result of Putin will they then stare at him, not at us, and demand answers. In a way, it is something like this that started the Russian Revolution. They acted to abolish its monarchy and about how ridding themselves of this tyrant and about how democracy might help them in their quest for a better life. The event that started with a military mutiny, perhaps this one might. Johnson obviously could perhaps even rid the House of Lords of the Russian-born son of a KGB agent. Johnson's decision to give Yuvin Lebedi, that's how you say it, a peerage was a complete bare-faced slap in the face of democracy, decency, and Lebedi is facing criticism as to investigation found that he had made the contribution to no parliament at all since joining the House of Lords. No doubt he will indeed perk up when asked to vote against Putin, his cronies, and the hunt for dodgy cash and the influence it has had, including his. The Russian-born, of course, Kosh Ben's peer, who made Baron Lebedi of Hampton and Serbia in November of 2020, made no written spoken contributions other than his maiden speech back in May of 2021. He has not voted at all, and he has no right in a properly functioning democracy to be in a position to vote on issues such as national security. European countries are now even banning Russian media from broadcasting and spewing out propaganda of this very murderous regime. Britain has done no such thing. The even money-hungry Google is acting. It is demonetizing Russian state media outlets and banning them from running ads. Perhaps has sparked its own original mission statement in that it conveniently forgot years ago, don't be evil. The editor of the Financial Times was rightly tough when he says, if the Ukrainians and the West response to this barbarism, Putin is actively strengthening the spirit of liberal democracy. This is amongst the most potent instances of the law of unintended consequences I can actually recall. No wonder China is anxious. In the meantime, Johnson will say anything in his own interests. He is shallow, vacuous, egotistic, and a charlatan. He is, as we are seeing right now, in fact, nothing more than a mirage of genuine leadership. He likes to make speeches, he likes to put on a uniform and wear a hard hat. He is acting in his own interests. He doesn't like doing what is the right thing or acting in the best interests, not just for our own country, but to do what our forefathers fought and even died for, democracy. We have seen with this attack on not only the judiciary or journalistic free speech, and even prolonging Parliament, and even limiting our ability to soon even exercise public protest. So, as you can see in the UK, we've got a lot of work to do, and I hope, as we saw the past couple of PMQs, a lot of interest in actually starting to try and tackle this threat of Russian influence and even dirty Russian money that is flowing not only in British political life, but in and around London. So I hope this can be the start of getting rid of this, and something that we should indeed be calling for constantly in this case. So I do hope that there are some proper actions, and even more if this goes on and forward. This just makes the Tory party look even worse, because at any next general election, you can turn around and just say, have you received Russian money? And it just makes them look bad. It just makes the Tory party look even worse. And you can, give them an absolute hammering on this. And I think Starmer today, hopefully in PMQs, should take this straight to the bank against Johnson and just absolutely hammer him on this today. I would really hope that he does do that today. But again, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But as always, thank you very much to those watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a notification link called Buy Me Coffee. We can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all.